Hi, my name is Trish Murphy and I'm here to talk to you about my book, The Challenge of Retirement. And this talk is coming to you by way of Healthy Ireland at your library. So I suppose the interesting thing to say about the book is the title, The Challenge of Retirement. And of course it is a challenge because there is no easy way to slip into this time in your life. It's going to present you with difficulties, it's going to push your buttons, and it's supposed to do that. I think we often say about older people or retired people that they should have life easy, that it shouldn't be difficult. But of course, this is not the case. The truth is that whatever you've been practicing for years, you've simply become better at. And if you want to have lots of fun and enjoyment at the retirement stage of your life, you'd want to have practiced plenty of that earlier. So this is a call to prepare for it. It's a call to have some sense of what's coming down the line and how you might actually get to have the enjoyment and fun that you feel you deserve. I'd have to say that many people expect this and then find that it's the opposite. They find that there's financial worries. They find that, in fact, when they retire, they're minding elderly parents and they're minding their children. The children have come back home to live so that they can save for a mortgage or something like that. So surprisingly, it's harder than we think. And yet, if we prepare for it, the chances are we can gain loads from it. So the book really is about the psychological and emotional aspects of this, not the financial. It is really important to prepare financially. I think a lot of us don't. And then we suffer afterwards because it's very difficult to survive unless you're financially prepared. However, that said, we have to accept the circumstances we find ourselves in and do the best we can with those circumstances. So the book starts off really looking at yourself, looking at the kind of mental processes you have, the kind of patterns of thinking you have, and how you might be able to challenge those. And really our mental patterns, our habits that are often very destructive, very self-critical, they can lead to effects which are loneliness and isolation, being cut off from social lives and people you love. The truth is that on retirement, 80% of our social life is connected to work. And so it might be that you're deprived of that. So you're going to work hard to make a good social life for yourself. And having a good social life means that you need confidence in yourself, fearlessness in the face of connecting with other people, and the ability to like your life. And that's no small challenge. And then we need to look at, I suppose, the other aspects, which are, physical health care. How do you mind yourself? How do you stop stupid things from happening? Like, walking on stairs in socks and then, damaging yourself, or pulling a jumper over your head when you're standing. You really need to be cognizant of these things so that you're not having accidents that lead to, I suppose, a much longer recovery and a much more difficult time later on. And then we have to look at what we eat and how we stay healthy and exercise. And all of these things don't happen by themselves. We need to look around, we need to see what's working, we need to enjoy it. So if you're going to take up an exercise, it has to be something you like doing, preferably something with a bit of company in it so that it'll ease the loneliness and make you feel part of the community and part of life. So, it might be helping out with the local soccer team, or it might be taking up dance classes, which would be fabulous. Now, we may be restricted in what we can do, and we may have to go online to do these things, but that's important, So if you want to be happier, then you're going to have to put energy and time into creating patterns that create happiness. We tend to know what those patterns are: eating healthily, probably moderate drinking, so that we're not starting the cocktail hour at 5 o'clock and then falling later on. So it's really important that we set these patterns in our lives so that we can have a much better time later on. The book does go on to look at relationships in older life, and I think these can be difficult because the kind of stuff that held your relationship together might no longer be there. The fact that you're both busy, the fact that you're both involved in things, and then you meet up and suddenly all those small irritations are driving you crazy. So you might need help to address those things, to understand those things. Many couples go for therapy later on because they now have all this time in front of them And instead of enjoying it, they're fighting all the time, which of course is a type of intimacy. So it's really important, that you spend, instead of spending 12 hours a day going to work, being at work and coming home from work, you're now with your partner and sometimes walking around on eggshells, and that's no way to live. So, there are a lot of things we can learn about this. There's a lot of good tips about, what creates good relationships, the kind of things to look out for, how you fight and how to have a good fight is very important. And then there is the reality for many people that by retirement stage they've separated, they've become widowed, they've had to move location. And so a lot of the time they have to start from scratch. And that's, really hard. And yet, if you don't do it, the chances of becoming depressed or isolated are very high. So that means taking risks. It means going on the internet. It means, finding the courage to join a new club. It means having the courage to ask somebody out. Facing rejection. It means all those things. And yet we know that most people want to do that. One of the men I interviewed for this book, at the time he was 89, but he got married at 91. And I think that's fascinating and wonderful, that he showed that he doesn't see it as ending. He sees it as a beginning. And that can really help. This idea that we're ongoing, we don't stop. There's no need to slow down the expansion of our lives and the love we need within it and the pleasure and beauty we get out of life. But a lot of the time, society and ourselves, we tell ourselves that it should stop. And I'd really, really want to challenge that notion. And there's a whole chapter on sex after 60. I think we don't talk enough about sex after 60. But the Irish Times did a survey on sex some years ago and discovered that people who were together for 30 years or more actually began to have a lot more sex. This is no surprise to me because a lot of the time-consuming things and the stresses are gone. And of course we're interested. We want pleasure in our lives, but we have to adjust our ideas about that. We have to be much more open to, what pleasure means and how long it takes. We might need aids, for men such as Viagra, for women, such as learning about your body, understanding its pleasures and its joys, and not always demanding orgasm as a result. And sex after 60 is really important. It can be the icing on the cake. It can be, feeling attractive, feeling buzzy, feeling desirable. And these are fabulous things to feel. So I'd really encourage people to read that chapter and enjoy it and not be afraid to put some of it into practice. And then as we're going on, we're kind of looking at the truth of the matter, which is that death is part of life. We go to more funerals. We lose friends. We hold our friends as they die and let them go. And we need to do more of this. We need to do more talking about it. We need to be more accepting of it. We need to really understand that death is part of life. It can bring us to quite a spiritual place, a place where we focus on acceptance and understanding, where we really understand the meaning of life, where we have time to invest in the discussion about it and to discovering ourselves and to discovering what, active living is like, because we're living each day and we're appreciating our health and our well-being for each day. And in fact, sometimes it's only when we get sick that we actually get to that point where that appreciation really works and that gratitude happens. So this is a book that talks to lots of people, that, it's not preachy. The idea is that our wisdom comes from other people. It comes from our experience. But it also says that nothing magic is going to happen. That really, if you want something at the end of the day, you start practicing it now. You have the self-discipline to put that into practice, and you will reap the benefits of it. So I really hope you enjoy it. I'd love to hear more of the stories from people about their experience and how they get on with this stage of life. But as more and more of us hit that stage, we really need to access that power and use it for our benefit. I mean, I do think that, there's the government needs to take more notice of this. Nursing home needs to have more double beds. There needs to be possibilities for dating even when there is some infirmity, because we live right up until the last minute of our lives. And we can do that well, but it is going to be demanding of us. And Erickson, who created Stages of Development, said that retirement is another stage of development, that in fact it challenges us, it stretches us, it's supposed to do that. We're supposed to grow, and in that growing, we let go a lot of our past fears, a lot of our old habits, and we can lighten up to enjoy life. And the research says that we're at our happiest probably between 65 and 75. And that's kind of awesome to know that happiness is in front of you. Maybe it's always in front of us, maybe it's always the next thing. But that idea that as we grow, we let go, we become more accepting, we're more willing to be upfront about speaking about love and death. And that has to be, really fabulous. And maybe that's the contribution to the world, that we can offer the world this, that you don't have to wait for retirement for this to happen, that in fact you can execute it now. So thank you for listening, and hope you enjoy the book, and have a good day.